Good news to the people, the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So, as Father said, today is Joyful Sunday, Gaudete Sunday. And one of Father's favorite songs is I Got That Joy, 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 Joy down in my heart. Well, that's not a Christmas song. So last year, when I was asked to give this Gaudete Sunday homily, I told you that I went out looking for joy. I went everywhere. I went to the grocery store. I went to the meat market. I went to the Ace Hardware. Everywhere I asked for joy. Finally, I get to the Acme, and the guy says, "Yeah, we have joy. It's in aisle 10. So I went looking for it. And I told you last year I didn't find joy, but I found dawn. And you're still laughing. Well, it gets better this year, because this year when I went to find dawn, I was so happy to find dawn, I snuggled dawn. And that did not go well, because I got shouted at. And then I got bounced. And finally, I got sent away. So my relationship with Dawn is over. And I tried to tell my wife, Paula, I'm not doing dishes anymore because Dawn doesn't like me. First impressions that we have, sometimes they're the wrong ones, sometimes they're not what we're looking for, and sometimes they are. There's a candid story about an anonymous pastor who celebrated his 50 years of priesthood. In fact, a couple priests celebrated with him, so I won't mention any names. But at one of his many award dinners, the scheduled speaker was a leading local politician, a member of his first parish, and it so happened that the speaker was delayed. So the master of ceremonies asked the pastor if he could share a little bit, say a few words, and tell us about your first assignment. What were your impressions? What did you think going there? And the good priest came to the podium and he said, because anything anyone ever tells me in the confessional has to be kept a secret. I can only hint at my first impression. Actually, when I heard about the parish, my impression was it's a terrible place, an awful assignment. But in time, I got to really love the people there. So the very first man who entered my confessional recited a torrent of sins. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope the rest of them aren't going to be like this. Are all the people in this parish so sinful? Well, as he's telling this, suddenly here comes the guest speaker, the politician, and he walks up and he says, I'm really sorry that I'm late. And he says, I'll never forget the first day our beloved priest came to the parish. In fact, I had the privilege of being the first person to go to confession to him. So you can see first impressions are not always the best ones. And sometimes they're the wrong ones. And we need to give it time. New surroundings, new people. And maybe that's what's going on in the gospel today. That first impression that people had of John the Baptist was he's a little bit crazy, but he might be the Messiah by the way he preaches. So therefore, they are asking him in this gospel, what are we to do? How do we go about it? These are questions that all of us ask ourselves when we're confronted with the great questions of life. What are we to do? These people are hungry. They're lost. They're confused. They want some direction. and they go to John. And the other day I was thinking, doing some Christmas shopping. I was at Barnes & Noble in Fairlawn. That's one of the last of the bookstores, right? Amazon has kind of killed bookstores. But as I was going through the store, they had a whole section I came upon called self-help, the self-help books. And it's amazing how many titles there are. There's something for everything. How to fix your appliances, how to fix your marriage, how to pick out a spouse, how, on and on and on, how to control your teenagers, how to do this, how to do that, how to solve all the problems in our culture, in our government, in our church. And I thought to myself, so many messiahs, right? So many messiahs. Everybody has a fix. So things weren't too different in the time of Jesus. They're asking this question of John the Baptist, the same question we ask today. What are we to do? How do we recognize the Messiah when he comes? And how do we prepare for him? Isn't that what Advent is all about? How do we prepare once again for this great feast of the Nativity, of Jesus becoming one of us, becoming flesh? And the answer lies in coming to the realization that Jesus is the answer. He's the how-to of all our questions. And John finally says, the one who's greater than I, he will tell you what to do, how to live, and how to be. So as we come to this middle of Advent, let us reflect and let us meditate on how and what we are doing individually to prepare once again for Jesus. How do we share true joy and good news of the Incarnation? How do we share this, what my good friend Jeffrey Lindholm and yours too calls radical hospitality? That's what the Incarnation is. It is radical that Jesus would take on flesh, become one of us, so that we could be divine. There's a 4-letter word for that. Love. So how do we recognize Jesus in our midst? And it's interesting in this gospel, John's answer to them is all about action, isn't it? He doesn't say, go off to a quiet place to pray, meditate, do contemplative prayer. And yes, those are important things to do when we are confronting situations. But he doesn't say that. He tells them to act. Do something. If you have 2 cloaks, share one of them. You don't need 2. If you have excess, give it away. If you're a tax collector, stop cheating people. If you're a soldier, quit practicing extortion. Don't falsely accuse someone. These are acts. Love is a verb. Yes, we need to meditate. Yes, we need to pray. Last month, Paul and I had a wonderful opportunity. We went down to Kentucky. We went to the oldest Trappist monastery in the United States for a weekend of quiet, because in a cloistered monastery, you're not allowed to talk. Now, can you imagine me in a cloistered monastery for a weekend? She thought it was wonderful, because she kept going to me, shh, shh, quit talking. But I had the opportunity to meet one of the monks and talk to him, and I was talking about my prayer life and what is contemplation, what is meditation, and he smiled and he said, you know what? I have lived in this monastery for 60 years, and I'll tell you what contemplation is. It's a fancy word for gratitude. Just be grateful. Be grateful. You're a deacon. You're in the world. You're in a parish. You need to act. You need to serve. And that's true for all of us. So as we get to this final dash towards Christmas, let us just take a moment to think about, what are we to do? And we've already done some of it. You notice that the giving tree is gone because you did it. You took every one of those cards. So think about that. Think about maybe a charity that you can contribute to, a program around town that feeds the hungry, or maybe giving a toy. There's always something we can do. And certainly we should go to the sacrament of reconciliation, just like that politician did. And think about this too. There's a lot of lonely people out there right now. People in nursing homes, hospitals, people just don't get visits. My neighbor just had double knee surgery, and he's gone crazy. And I have been remiss. He called me yesterday and says, "Hey, what are you doing Sunday? Why don't you come over and watch the Browns game with me?" I could tell in his voice that he was just craving for someone to hang out with. So I need to do that today. And finally, look for Christ at work, at home, at the parish, where you shop, and even at the Browns game. God is near everywhere we look, and most especially here in the Eucharist that we will receive in a few minutes. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice.